for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now moving the focus, a Pentagon Inspector General investigation has criticized Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth for using his personal device and signal to transmit details of planned U.S. strikes in Yemen, saying the messages could have endangered troops if intercepted. The report, which has not yet been publicly released, did not determine whether the information Hegseth shared was classified at the time, noting that as Pentagon Secretary he had authority to decide what constitutes classified material. Hegseth, who has declined to be interviewed during the investigation, has said that he only shared information he deemed non-risky and maintained he had the right to declassify material as he saw fit. He has also claimed the inquiry was politically motivated, despite being initiated by both Republican and Democratic lawmakers. The Pentagon said the review exonerated Hegseth, with spokesperson Sean Purnell confirming that this matter is resolved and the case is closed. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Professor Rohan Gunaratna. He's an international affairs expert, joins us live from Singapore. Thank you very much, Professor, for staying with us. Now, looking at this, how could this use of personal devices by senior defense officials, how do you think this is affecting congressional oversight and public trust?
Asuma, what is important to understand is that this kind of information that is being shared through channels that are not secure, sufficiently secure, takes place all the time. And governments also have mechanisms to investigate it. In this case, the Pentagon has investigated it. Of course, there can be other investigations. Now, as Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War now, Pete Hegseth has the authority to classify a conversation, a communication. He also has the capacity to declassify a conversation. So anyone who classifies, that is, gives the label of secret or confidential or restricted, that is the person who can also declassify. So in this case, the Pentagon found out that he is not guilty of anything wrong. But in future, it is so important for government officials, especially those who are occupying senior positions, to be very careful when they handle classified material, because it could get them to trouble. What is important is also to look at intent. Of course, the Secretary of Defense, now Secretary of War, had no intention of leaking any information. But what is important to understand is it did happen. And of course, now Pentagon investigated and they found out there was nothing wrong. But governments should constantly build capabilities to ensure that sensitive information does not reach the hands of others, because then the operational security, the secrecy of the missions will be compromised. In this case, I believe it did not happen. And that is why Pentagon has exonerated Pete Hegseth of what happened.
Yes, indeed. Right. With that, I would like to thank Professor Rohan Gunaratna for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now we move the focus to Iraq.